as Kantaki and Mina began to join the other children. A few of them scoffed, casting Kantaki a foul expression. "Oh, look who it is. How's it going, Kantaki? Your ghost mom still following you around?" "That's none of your business, Shota," Kantaki replied, as Shota usually tended to be the one heading up their teasing of him. Shota was next in line, behind Kantaki when it came to skill, but had already begun to show signs that his bloodline abilities within the Moon Clan were beginning to emerge. Soon, his capabilities in combat would begin to dramatically increase, which he was quite proud of. The other children were all waiting on their abilities to begin to emerge, aside from Mina herself, whom had had access to her abilities for several years, getting them much sooner than any of the other children, as her bloodline connection was the strongest. "Why are you always so mean to him, Shoto?" Mina said, stepping up. "Kantaki never did anything to you. The real question is why you're so nice to him," Shoto replied. "I mean, seriously, he's not even really one of us. Not even by marriage. He's just some stray we picked up." "That's not very nice, Shoto." "It's fine, Mina," Kantaki replied. "I don't require his approval. Whether he believes it or not, I fight for the Moon Clan. This is my purpose. The approval of every member is not. So long as I am accepted by you and Master Roma, this place will forever be my home. I need nowhere else." Now, that's enough, children," they heard a voice exclaim from nearby. It was Teacher Asuto, there to give their daily exercises and practices in the shinobi arts. "Your personal issues are not a matter for my classroom. This is where you come to learn the ninja arts, where all men are measured by skill and skill alone. Shota, you would be wise to mind this. One day Kantaki will stand beside you on the battlefield. There may come a time and place in which your life dangles by a thread that he and he alone holds. It will be up to him to decide whether you live or die. It is not wise to mock your allies. Whether Kantaki is originally of moon blood or not matters not in the slightest. He is a warrior of the Moon Clan, and thus you will show him proper respect. It is easy to claim allegiance when you are born to it, but Kantaki is not tied to us by blood, and yet he chooses to stay alongside us all the same. That is a mark of loyalty, and it is to be honored." Yes, Sensei," Shota replied. "Now, as for you two, go and join the rest of the class," he said, looking down to Kantaki and Mina. "Yes, Sensei. Yes, Sensei," they both said as they walked into the group, and everyone began to take formation for training. The morning practices continued as they usually did from that point forward. A short period of meditation in order to focus the mind, followed by a series of stretches and exercises in order to ready the body, before they continued into stance training for both hand-to-hand and weapons combat, practicing with katanas. The training seemed to continue fluently, the teacher occasionally stopping to adjust someone's stance, correct their methodology, and give minor points of instruction where they were needed, before finally the testing for their latest skill set arrived. "Okay, you have all at this point learned to manifest your ki, or life energy, and combine it with the essences of the universe in order to create ninjutsu art. But there are still a great many of you who are fumbling in your attempts to master the first of the ninjutsu art skills. This is a very simple task, children. This technique is quintessential to the Moon Clan. It is the first technique we learn, as it will most likely be the one that you utilize most during combat. The Raven Strike. As of yet, only a single student seems to have fully mastered the technique. So, we will have him demonstrate once again. Kantaki, step forward, he said, as Kantaki began to leave the grouping, stepping in front of the rest of the class. Now, the Raven Strike is simple. It is a mixture of close-hand combat with ninjutsu art. Kantaki will now demonstrate this skill. Remember, children, the purpose of the Raven Strike is to master it to the level where you can shift it into your combat. There are a great many ninjutsu arts in the world, all of them dangerous in their own right. But the Raven Strike is both functional and effective. It uses very little ki or life energy, but is also exceptionally effective. Not only that, but it can be done single-handedly whilst holding a blade. This makes the skill exceptionally useful in close-range combat. In a moment of weakness, when your opponent believes himself to be safe, the Raven Strike could prove the difference between life and death, allowing you to claim victory, even from the clutches of defeat. One cannot truly consider themselves a member of the Moon Clan until they have mastered this technique completely. Now, Kantaki, demonstrate, he said, gesturing towards Kantaki, as he faced away towards a distant wall, standing at a sideways angle so the rest of the class could see his movements, taking a stance and holding his katana with one hand, focusing his energy and beginning to make hand gestures with the other, opposing hand. Suddenly, Kantaki's shadow seemed to stretch and extend, reaching out in front of him, moving despite it opposing the angle of the sun, beating down on them, and in a single motion, Kantaki appeared at the edge of his shadow, slashing out with his blade. The sound of it cutting through the air was audible for all to hear. His motions, perfect, as his shadow seemed to return to normal, and Kantaki lowered his blade, once again taking a normal stance, placing the blade back into its sheath. Well done, Kantaki. Perfectly done yet again. As you see, this is the Raven Strike. One draws a line with their shadow. They can extend it a great distance. True masters of the technique can extend it nearly 50 yards. The Raven Strike allows you to use your shadow as a gate to transport from one location to another instantaneously. Your shadow is in essence its own realm, its own dimension, though a regular human being cannot survive within it. The Raven Strike allows you to pass through it, but for a moment, and appear anywhere along the line of your shadow, which you can cast in any direction you so choose. This is the fundamental skill of all Moon Clan members. It is one of our most powerful and versatile techniques, and thus is the first that you are taught. It can not only allow you to make strikes against your enemy, but also to get distance from them, pulling yourself out of danger in a moment's notice. Yes, there are far grander and more impressive ninjutsu arts that yield incredible destructive power, but I warn you, students, do not lax in this ability. The Raven Strike may not possess the destructive power of other seemingly more impressive ninjutsu arts, but its fundamental uses are near limitless. Ignore this and you will die. Abide it, and you will prosper. Understand this, know this. Sow it into your mind, your soul, and your bones, and you will bring honor to the Moon Clan. You will spend the rest of your time in class training in this technique. Remember, the key is focus. Attain the proper balance of energy and outward flow. Do not slouch on your hand signs. If they are incorrect, your jutsu will falter. They must be exacting. Yes, sensei, all of the students announced simultaneously. Now, continue your training, the teacher said, as Kantaki began to make his way back into the group. Kantaki, if you would for a moment. You have already mastered this technique. There is no point in having you spend your time working on something that you have already mastered. Besides, it appears that we have a guest. I have been contacted by the headmaster and told of this, so I assume he is here for you, Kantaki, he said as he looked over. And there, outside of the area in which the students were training, aside 2 elder members of the Moon Clan, in full armament with weaponry. Beside them stood a singular individual, dressed in golden robes, carrying with him a long wooden staff with bronze fixtures, a cleanly shaven head, holding a very prominent stance, clearly a monk. And in the moment, Kantaki felt relieved. Perhaps this monk could probably finally bring the specter that haunted him to an end.